Some of the pieces fell off. I guess I get to eat the scraps. This is gonna make some amazing sandwiches. This is also my professional taste tester. His name is Eddie. Homemade focaccia bread 4 different ways. This step is probably the most important step when you begin to make your homemade focaccia bread, or any bread for that matter. In a small bowl, add yeast, sugar, and warm water. Give a stir and then cover with a tea towel and place in a warm area. I usually put mine on my stove top with the overhead light on or on top of my fridge. I let it rest for 5 to 10 minutes and then you should see bubbles starting to form. If you see no bubbles, the water was either too hot or too cold and you have killed the yeast, or the yeast has not had the opportunity to grow because the water was too cold. Sadly, you will have to begin again or your bread will not rise properly. Now that bubbles have formed, we will add 1 slightly beaten egg. Give a whisk to incorporate. Now that we mastered this critical step, it's time to add the wet ingredients to the dry ingredient. In this bowl, I have flour and salt. This was my first mistake. I followed the directions. I added all of the flour and my wet ingredients at the exact same time. While mixing, I realized that my batter was dry and I had no more liquid to add. This would cause the dough to become tough, not light and airy. It definitely wasn't something I was going for. On my second attempt, I got smart. I added my salt and half of the flour to the bowl. Next, my wet ingredient. And then I slowly added the flour until I had the proper consistency. So, for future reference, when making bread, add half of the flour first, then add more as needed. If you can get these 2 critical steps down, you are well on your way to making some fantastic bread. The third step in this journey is the knead to knead. But why do you need to knead? Kneading your dough makes the bread light, airy, and chewy. It's a critical step in making yeast breads. Without a well-developed gluten, your bread would be tough and flat. Generally, 8 to 10 minutes is recommended time according to the master of the universe, the Google. Place your delicate bun into a bowl, adding some extra virgin olive oil on the top and sides of the dough. Cover with a tea towel or plastic wrap and place back on the stovetop, light on, or on top of the fridge until your bun has doubled in size. Mine took about 20 minutes. Lightly flour your countertop and rolling pin. Plop the dough onto the floured surface and begin to roll. Your dough will be light and fluffy. You can shape your dough however you like. Today I'm using a sheet pan as I will be making 4 different flavor combinations. When rolling the dough, move around and flip occasionally to keep from sticking. Add another sprinkle of flour when necessary. Once you have your shape, place the dough on a lightly oiled cookie sheet. Drizzle with olive oil and poke down with your fingers. It's fun to play with your food. Cover the dough with a tea towel and return to a warm place until the dough has risen another 30 to 45 minutes. So section 1 has jalapeno peppers, rosemary, and cheese. Section 2, we're gonna do some sun-dried tomatoes on here, and then some feta cheese. That's number 2. Number 3 is caramelized onions and thyme. So this was the onions that I put in the frying pan. I put a little bit of oil. Put a little bit of oil and butter, salt and pepper in them. Cooked them on a medium-high heat until they started to brown a little bit, and then I added in a little bit of sugar just to kind of get the juices flowing a little bit more. Voila, I have caramelized onions. And then the final section is the pesto that I made. Check the recipe out in the link in the description below. All of these flavors, oops, they just smell so good, this pesto. And with the pesto one, I'm gonna put a little bit of Parmesan cheese on it as well. Let me know in the comments below what type of topping is your favorite for focaccia. This is gonna go into the oven right now at 400 degrees for about 25 minutes. You hear that? Do you smell that? I can smell that. My nose is telling me, and now the timer is telling me that the focaccia bread is ready. Let's go take a peek. Okay, let's have a peek. Oh, it smells so good right now. Let's take this puppy out of here. Oh, look at the different flavors. Let's pop that up here. This one here is the jalapeno cheddar. Right here, sun-dried tomato, the caramelized onion, and then the pesto with the crispy Parmesan on it. The flavor of my house smells amazing right now. Let's cut into this and see what it looks like. So I guess the first thing to do is to go down the center. Feels light and airy. Oh yeah, you see that right there? I got like little bubbles. Just gonna set this one aside and divide my sections here. So I literally just made like 4 different types of focaccia bread at one time. It was really simple. There wasn't a lot that went into it. Now I think it's only fitting that we have a little taste test. It's light, it's fluffy, you get the sweetness from the sun-dried tomato, and then you get a little bit of a saltiness from the feta cheese, and it's very different than the jalapeno cheddar one, completely. All right, next one is the pesto and parm. The herbs from the pesto came out. The olive oil is a little bit heavier, giving the bread a little bit more density to it, but it's so tasty and vibrant. All right, the last one, which is completely different, is caramelized onion and thyme. I think I'm really gonna like this because I love caramelized onion. That one is something totally different. Eddie, do you like bread? Ready? Gentle. Good boy. Oh, yummy. Is that good, Eddie? Do you like it? Do you approve? Eddie, sit. Sit. Good boy. Did you want some more? Can you give me pop? No? Good boy. What a handsome puppy.